Hello and welcome to Rise Unwind. My name is Dan. You know, each and every week I try to talk to people from across the country about things you can do right here in your neighborhood. And on this week's show, we got this.
That's such a hard question to answer. I mean, when I was 19 and getting paid to run around on the beach, that was not a bad gig, you know?
This year, our exclusive flavor of the day for Scoops of Thanks Day is called.
But what I think more automakers are going to do is what Kia's doing is to say, hey, you can have that 320, 330 mile range, but at the same time, we also want to offer a lower price solution, and that range might be more like, say, 200 to 250 miles.
I know what you mean. How many times you change your password and it was actually the last one you used. You've already used that one.
Since it's a competitive job market, to stand out, we really recommend a couple of things.
All of that and more right here on Rise and Unwind. We all know how important it is to support the next generation of farmers. After all, they're the ones making sure we have food on our tables. So right now, over 1 million students are part of the National FFA learning the skills that will shape the future of agriculture. That's why Culvers have created the Thank You Farmers Project, and every year, Scoops of Thanks Day gives us all a chance to give back in the most delicious way possible. And here to tell us more is Alison Demmer, Senior Public Relations Manager for Culvers and a former state FFA officer herself. Welcome to the show, Alison. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's start with the basics. What is Scoops of Thanks Day, and how can our viewers get involved?
Scoops of Thanks Day is happening on May 1st. It's an opportunity for guests to come to any Culver's restaurant. When they do, they can donate $1 and they'll receive a single scoop of our fresh frozen custard, chocolate vanilla, or our exclusive flavor of the day. And all the proceeds go to support local agricultural education efforts like FFA in your community.
Since 2015, this fundraiser has raised over like $1 million. How does that money directly impact local FFA chapters and agricultural education?
Scoops of Thanks Day and our fundraisers through Culver's Thank You Farmer Project are all about raising funds to support the next generation of leaders in agriculture. We know that when FFA members have the resources and hands-on learning that they need to be engaged and capable, it's really the important part that leads to us having a sustainable food supply for the future. So really proud to be able to have these fundraisers to support these students.
So why is supporting FFA so important to Culver's, and how does the Thank You Farmers Project play a role in that mission?
Culver's got its start in small town Sauk City, Wisconsin. And when we started, really our friends and neighbors were farmers and ranchers. So that connection to where our food comes from has always been vital to Culver's. We know that we couldn't serve our delicious Butterburgers and fresh frozen custard without farmers. So to be able to ensure that we have the next generation of agriculturalists and farmers prepared to be able to make a difference is so important to us.
All right, and I know you have a secret. What is this year's exclusive Scoops of Thanks Day flavor? And I know people look forward to this every year, so I would love to know.
This year, our exclusive flavor of the day for Scoops of Thanks Day is called How Now Brown Cow. This is our Culver's chocolate fresh frozen custard infused with our signature root beer, and then it's topped with chocolate cake pieces and Dove chocolate. So chocolatey and decadent and delicious. Definitely have to come out and try it. It's only in the restaurants on Scoops of Thanks Day, May 1st.
I'm excited. That is my response. My mouth dropped. I want a How Now Brown Cow right now. That's what I'm saying. You're also involved firsthand in Culver's Thank You Farmers Project. How does this initiative mean for farmers and the future of agriculture?
The Thank You Farmer Project shows our appreciation for farmers and supporting the next generation of leaders in agriculture. I was one of those students as an FFA member, and I got to see firsthand when our guests come out and support this industry, it showcases how important it is. My husband's actually also a dairy farmer, and all of these connections showcase that it is so vitally important that we have agricultural leaders, and Culver's support of this project makes a huge difference in the value chain and really everybody's ability to enjoy delicious food.
Alison, thanks for joining me this morning. Where can our viewers go for more information and find a participating Culver's that's nearby?
You can learn more at culvers.com to find the restaurant near you and learn more about Scoops of Thanks Day happening on Thursday, May 1st.
Alison, thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you. Have a great day.
So what's hot in the car world right now, and what's just hype? The New York International Auto Show has given us a sneak peek at the future of driving, from sleek electric models to surprising new tech. So joining us live from the floor is Brian Moody, executive editor at Autotrader, to break down the biggest reveals and what's getting the most buzz this year. Welcome to the show, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing great. You're right. Lots of cool cars here. More cars making their debut than I can remember in years past. So that's a good sign, I think.
All right, let's kick it off with the big picture. Are EVs and hybrids still the stars of the show, or are you seeing other trends to kind of take over this year?
You know, so here's what I think the trend is. I think the trend is both hybrid, electric, and gasoline only. I think that automakers are headed down this path where they realize that both have merit. So in gasoline-powered cars, it's not uncommon to find a 40-mile-per-gallon car today without electricity, and with a hybrid, 40, 50, or even 60 miles per gallon is common. So automakers are doing all of those things, but electric cars are still the newest, latest thing, and those sales are continuing to grow a little bit year after year.
And there's been a lot of talk about slowing demand for electric cars.
Yeah.
Is that what you're seeing, or is it more of like a media narrative?
Well, yes and no. Here's
Okay.
what the truth is. The demand is not slowing. Sales are actually increasing. What is slowing is the increase. So sales are growing year after year, but they're growing at a rate slightly slower than automakers would have hoped.
Any new reveals or surprise models that have pretty much everyone out there chatting about it?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a new Subaru Outback. That's pretty cool. There's a couple of new Kias. One of them is the EV4, which is a smaller electric car for them. It's going to have even a light version, meaning that the battery will have less capacity, but that will also translate into a lower price. And that's a super smart strategy. Also, there's the Kia K4 hatchback. That's a gasoline-powered car, sporty suspension with a 190 horsepower engine. That's the kind of thing that I think more automakers are going to be doing. Two paths at the same time.
All right, so you've been walking the floor. What's the coolest thing that's been spotted so far?
Well, there's two things. One is this collection of vintage cars out front that's celebrating the 125th anniversary of the New York Auto Show, and they have all these vintage cars spanning that range, right? So that's cool. But also on the other end of the spectrum, definitely not old, is this new Audi RS6 Avant GT. It's an all-wheel drive, ceramic brakes, turbocharged V8, 621 horsepower wagon. That's pretty cool.
With the new vehicles coming out, they're talking new EVs coming out. What are the ranges looking like for some of these vehicles? Because I got a used EV, and I think I could get to Taco Bell and back pretty much, but I'm looking to maybe upgrade, so I could go maybe a block further than Taco Bell if I can.
Right.
What are these ranges are looking like?
Well, a lot of the ranges are in the 300-mile area. So that's pretty good. That's common. But what I think more automakers are going to do is what Kia is doing is to say, hey, you can have that 320, 330 mile range, but at the same time, we also want to offer a lower price solution, and that range might be more like, say, 200 to 250 miles. So range around 300 is not uncommon in electric cars today.
Gotcha. And what are you feeling like the battery life for these are? What's the battery life, I guess, the question I'm trying
It's got to be at least 10 years. So most cars have a warranty on their battery and drive components of 8 years or 100,000 miles, but we're just not seeing any of these massive failures. And in some used cars, the battery still works, it just has diminished capacity. For some people that will work, for others it won't work. But a car with a warranty, electric car with a warranty, that's going to cover the first 1 to 3 owners. Now, once you get into a 20-year-old electric car, I don't know. I don't think that would be something I would get into.
And what are we looking at costs at charging at home? Because I know my costs, but in comparison to the pump, what are you feeling?
The electric cars are it depends on where you live, but the electric cars are a little bit less expensive to charge. Now, if you charge fast charging all the time, that's going to be more expensive, and it's actually harder on the battery. So it kind of depends on how you charge. The slower chargers, not as much. Charge overnight, not as much money. 80% of electric vehicle owners charge their car up at home.
All right, there you go. I just wanted to throw in a couple extra questions just to clear some stuff up. All right, Brian Moody, thanks for hanging out with me. Have a good time at the Autotrader. Where can we go for more information about some of the stuff we talked about?
For more information, you can go to kia.com to talk about the cars that are right here by me, but you can also go to autotrader.com for great advice on buying and selling cars.
Brian Moody, you're the man. That's why I have to ask the questions. You're here. Why not?
Of course.
AI tools like ChatGPT are helping people write emails, summarize meetings, or even write code. But what happens when cyber criminals start using the same tools? A new report shows some generative AI platforms can be manipulated into writing malware that steals things like your Google Chrome passwords. So here to break down what that means and whether the average person should be worried is Itai Mayor, Chief Security Strategist at Cato Networks. Welcome to the show, Itai. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's start with the report. What exactly did you find that caught your attention?
Right, so we recently released the 2025 Cato Threats Report, and in the report we detailed how, using a technique called narrative engineering, we convinced all the leading AI tools to actually create a software for us that can steal passwords from browsers. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with narrative engineering, in our case specifically, we simply convinced these AI tools that they now live in a world where creating malicious software and viruses is actually a good thing. So effectively, we jailbroke them and removed all the guardrails that prevent you from using these generative AI tools for doing bad. The result was that the generative AI tools created for us a software that can steal passwords from browsers.
So what's the real risk here for pretty much everyday users like me and you?
Right, so I think what the main risk here is passwords are going to be more vulnerable than ever. And if you're keeping your passwords on your browser, maybe that's not the safest place because that's a prime target for threat actors. And so let's kind of remind ourselves about the basic security tips for keeping your passwords safe. 3 tips. Number 1, never use the same password on multiple websites, because if it gets stolen from one website, the attackers can use it on any other website that it was used. Number 2 is to always use two-factor authentication when you can. I know it might be a little bit of a hassle to set up these one-time passwords and receive and use them, but that will effectively prevent you from being the lower-hanging fruit when it comes to threat actors who try to steal passwords and identities. And number 3 is to periodically change your password. Even if you have a very strong password, keep in mind you need to change it and not give the attackers a chance to obtain it and log in on your behalf.
I think I've gotten to a point in my life where I have no idea what any of my passwords are, and almost every time I sign up for a new password, and when I have to log into some account that I know that I've been there 100 times, that's where I've been now. What are other surprising takeaways from the report that you think we should all know about?
Right, I know what you mean. How many times you changed your password, and it was actually the last one you used. You've already used that one. But the report itself highlights, I think, something that's very important to understand, that we're now in the age of the zero-knowledge threat actors. If you think about it, historically, to develop this type of malicious software, you needed to know programming. You probably need to have some specialized software and specialized hardware. And you'd need to invest days, weeks, sometimes months in order to create this malicious software. Today, anybody with access to generative AI, which is basically anyone, can now ask the AI tools to create malicious software for them. And so what we end up with is these zero-knowledge threat actors, people who may not need to have that prerequisite knowledge, but now can generate and create very malicious tools. So we'll see more threat actors and more malicious tools created by these Gen AI tools.
All right, should people be nervous about using tools like ChatGPT or Copilot because of this stuff?
I don't know about nervous. Look, I myself use these tools all the time. It really helps me be more productive and do a lot more with a lot less time. But we have to keep in mind, any software we bring in brings some sort of risk with it. So if you are using these tools, keep in mind, anything you type in, any file you upload, any picture, any video, can be used by the AI for training purposes, but it gets stored somewhere. So potentially threat actors in the future might have access and obtain that type of data. That's on the consumer side. On the business side, organizations need to understand that employees are bringing in these tools not in a malicious way, but just to be more productive. And so organizations need to have the visibility to identify when these tools are being used and by whom, and then also have the controls in place to mitigate the risk. For those who aren't familiar with Cato Networks, we're one of the leading cybersecurity firms, and we've actually developed a platform that does exactly that. Identify these different threats on the networks and these different tools, and then allow you a way to detect and mitigate the risks.
All right, if somebody wants to dive deeper into all of this and maybe that report, where can they check it out?
So you can go to catonetworks.com/report. You can find the report, download it for free. We also have several blogs and reports on our website that detail different threats that we're seeing. Also videos and master classes where you can learn more about threat actors and different threats that are out there. So a wealth of information on the Cato Networks website.
Anytime, AR. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Do you ever feel like today's grads are entering a totally different job market than we did? Between ghost jobs, unpaid internships, and confusing career paths, starting out can feel like stepping into a maze. Brandy Britton is an executive director and career expert with Robert Half. She's here with the top 5 challenges facing the class of 2025 and how they can navigate the job hunt with confidence. Welcome to the show, Brandy. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so what are some of the biggest challenges facing today's college grads as they are entering the workforce?
Certainly, our Robert Half research tells us more than 70% of professionals are having a difficult time getting an interview and even getting their resume seen. Since it's a competitive job market, to stand out, we really recommend a couple of things. Be flexible to on-site positions. Consider contract work. Showcase those soft skills, especially communication, both written as well as verbal. And when you get that job offer, have realistic expectations when it comes to your starting salary. Even if you have a terrific college advisor, mentor, or friend of the family, these days we find you need more, and that's really how we can help.
All right, let's say you're a new grad and feeling like a little lost. What is your best advice for getting them on track?
It's not uncommon for recent college graduates to feel lost or be uncertain about their career path. A great place to start is by having a conversation with a career expert. They understand what jobs are in demand and what's going on in the job market. From our experience with college graduates, there's strong demand for HR, administrative support roles, accounting and finance, where there's a well-documented shortage of qualified professionals. And last but not least, really consider contract roles. Contract roles allow you to test the waters. You gain experience, you gain skills, all of which make you more marketable in the moment and in the future.
All right, what about someone who's very sure about what career path to take? Any advice on narrowing that down?
Certainly. Well, wherever you are in your career path, we recommend the GRO method. Gain experience through internships or contract roles. Reach out for a mentor. This can be a manager, a professor, or someone you trust. Own your soft skills and work. Take every opportunity to work, whether it's volunteer work, contract positions. Each time it provides you with additional skills and contacts that you can take with you into future roles.
So are there any specific skills college students should be building now to try to stand out after graduation?
Soft skills really help you stand out. So focusing on communication, adaptability, as well as time management. If you find that you're not strong in these areas or you're not getting the traction you like, we recommend you reach out to a professional recruiter. Professional recruiters help you refine your resume. They role play interviews with you. They give you information on unposted jobs, and that's all free to the job seeker.
So how can someone without any real world experience still compete for a great job?
Yeah, it's not uncommon for college graduates to not have real world experience. In fact, I recently spoke with somebody who didn't have an internship. From our survey, we found that 1/3 of professionals, when they entered the workforce, didn't have any internship or experience before entering. And so this individual, we helped them land an interview. And in the interview, she was able to highlight her communication skills as well as her time management abilities by articulating things that she had done on campus with various school projects. She ultimately got the role as a contract person, and within a couple of months, she became a permanent employee. So it's all about finding what skills are transferable and finding a role that you can grow with.
Brandy Britton, thanks for joining me this morning. Where can we go for more information, and where can new grads go to help with their job search?
Visit roberthalf.com for job opportunities as well as job search tips.
Brandy Britton, thanks for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Do you remember Tic Tac Dough? Well, it's back. And this time there's a twist and a dragon. The classic game show has been reimagined for a new generation with Emmy-nominated host Brooke Burns leading the charge. You know her from The Chase, Masterminds, Dog Eat Dog, and yeah, she also survived Baywatch. Brooke's here to tell you how, what's new with this nostalgic, and what's new, and what's it like dodging dragons in prime time. Welcome to the show, Brooke. How are you, my friend?
Thank you so much. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I am always dodging a beast or a dragon or something. How do I get myself into these situations, right? Yes, I survived the cold waters of Baywatch as well. I'm a survivor. What can I say?
You got this. You got this. All right. Tic Tac Dough. It's new. It's with a dragon. Where did this idea come from?
So obviously, game shows seem to have this sort of timeless appeal. And I think tic-tac-toe is the same way. It's been around for so many decades, on air, off air. Obviously, Chuck Berry hosted it, Wink Martindale, who we recently lost. And so when GSN came to me and said, we're going to be doing a reboot of this, playing tic-tac-toe as a child was so much fun. It's the first game that you ever learn. And then adding the trivia element, I feel very comfortable with. And then the adorable little virtual dragon, who is not as frightening as Beastie, was also part of the appeal. I just think it's like every game show that you can come and you can watch and you can either just check out and enjoy and be entertained, or you can play along. And it doesn't matter if you're with your grandma or your kids or whatever. And it was just fun. I just really wanted to come on and have something to offer people again, where you can just come and enjoy yourself and, have your community around you. And it starts that conversation. And of course, if you're competitive, maybe a little bit of that fun, jabbing competitiveness that you can play with your family. I
was just showing my producer here photos of me and Wink Martindale from 2013. I did some promos with him.
Can I see one?
I'm dressed up. I'll show him now. I'm dressed up like a bellhop. Me and Wink are hanging out on set. So we did some promos together for real. So it was cool working with him. Amazing. Did you ever get to meet him or work with him in the past? Or?
I did. He actually came to the set of The Chase, and I was so excited and honored that he came. And when he came out on stage and we were hanging out and speaking and stuff, I just really, when he has that true essence, that true authenticity, where you're like, of course he's a game show. He's like everybody's best friend. You just feel like you could reach through the TV and you knew him, like you could have him over to your house and have a cup of coffee. That's exactly how he is. And he was just so gracious and kind. And I only wish that somebody could have said right then, hey, Wink, she's going to be hosting Tic-Tac-Toe in 10 years. And then us had that moment to share together.
I would say that you have some big shoes to fill, but because it is Wink Martindale, but I've seen your work. You're amazing. You do really good stuff. You're very funny. You're charming. Yeah, you bring to the table a lot of good hosting skills. So I'm not just trying to say you got big shoes to fill. I think they found the right person to fill those shoes automatically.
So much. I am going to try and honor him with this.
So how does hosting this compare to some of the other stuff that you have done in the past?
Good question. They're all a little bit different in their own way, but this one was really, I think, a more intimate set for me, just because there's only 2 contestants. So I love people, and I feel like I got to spend a little more time with the contestants, which I really enjoyed. And not so much pressure. The Beastie's not breathing down my neck. The speed rounds are not really about me being perfect and fast, more about can they, get away from the dragon. So I just really enjoyed myself. I kind of felt like I could let my hair down on this one a little bit. And I think it shows. And
you've had a pretty cool career, like from acting to hosting. And what's your favorite gig? Does anything come to light, or does this top the list, I guess?
That's such a hard question to answer. I mean, when I was 19 and getting paid to run around on the beach, that was not a bad gig, you know, I get paid to do that. So I love those days. Hosting my very first show, Dog Eat Dog, was a real joy of mine just because I love competition. And I think that's where I fell in love with game and reality and hosting in and of itself. And so that leading, you know, to all of these other shows, I'm obviously incredibly proud of The Chase. Working with Beastie and getting nominated for an Emmy for that was pretty exciting. I brought my mom and dad out to come to the Emmys with me. And so, you know, I think it's just all of them really, because I think if I asked my 10-year-old self, I thought I was going to be a ballet teacher and have 6 kids and never leave Texas. So I just love what I get to do. And especially now if I'm flying on an airplane and somebody asks me like, what do you do for a living? There's no better answer than I'm a game show host. People can't believe it. They're like, is that a joke? I'm like, no, it's for real.
How good are you at trivia? Have you like absorbed any of this, or is it?
Oh my gosh, I thought you were asking like if I would ask those people. Yes, I ask people trivia all day in my everyday life. No, I'm not great at trivia. I feel like under pressure, I totally panic. And if somebody asked me my daughter's middle name, that I would be like, oh, buzzer.
I'm in the same boat. I can't come up with names. I can't come up with words, but I'm great at trivia because all of a sudden my brain will find it. But there are those moments that I know exactly what I'm talking about and I just can't find the words. But all right.
I've had those few moments where something pops into my head and Beastie doesn't know it, then I feel really good about myself.
When you battle the Beastie and win, I love it. That's a bar to beat. All right, you can check out Tic Tac It's weeknights at 7 on Game Show Network. Brooke Burns, thanks for hanging out with me.
Thank you so much.
And that's it for Rise and Unwind. I want to thank you for tuning in and checking out the show. If you actually want to be on the show, go to our website, riseunwindtv.com. Fill out the form, send us your info. Maybe we'll be talking on a future episode. Also, make sure you follow us, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's at Rise Unwind TV. And until next week, that was Rise and Unwind.
Valentine, string your magic arrow, pierce it through my heart. Valentine, bring me love and sorrow. It's not fair to leave me in the dark. Every year I write you something different. Every tear's a fight. Maybe I don't deserve it. It's not fair to leave me in the dark. Valentine, I'm so blue.